Imagine you and your partner just adopted a beautiful little girl. She's 6 years old. You're so excited for her to join the family, but when you get home, things start to get weird. Knives go missing, you find bloody clothes in her closet, and pine saw in your coffee. I'm gonna tell you a story. Is a full-grown woman posing as a child? It'll be up to you to figure out if the story I'm telling is fact or fiction. Oh hey, my name is Jake and welcome back to my channel. So I thought we'd do a little different video this week, as something new, as something fresh. You know, I've always been a lover of storytelling and I did do theater as a kid. So I thought I would introduce this new show idea called Fact or Fiction. So every week I'm gonna tell you a story and it's up to you to decide before the end if you think that it's a real story I'm telling or if it's completely written, made up. The fictional stories I'm gonna grab from movies, TV, books, maybe even write one of my own, who knows. It's gonna come from somewhere. And the real stories, well, they'll come from real life. I'm gonna try my best to trick you, but do not skip to the end of the video to find out what it is. Okay, that's no fun. Come on, this is a game and you're trying to play along. And if you don't play along, whatever, I can't do anything, can I? After I do the reveal, I'm gonna give you some background on the story and give you my thoughts as well, so we can get a full circle moment here. Now, before we get started, this video is sponsored by my clothing brand, Breaker Apparel. We just dropped our second fall release last Friday, so please visit us at breakerapparel.com. And we have a very special product in this collection where all the proceeds are gonna be going to the Dr. Susan Love Foundation for breast cancer research. So please check us out. We'd love to have you. All right, so it's time. Strap in. It's gonna be a wild ride. Eric and Lily Franklin are foster parents, and they also run an in-home daycare. They love children, and they just want to give them the best lives. So they fostered many kids before, but they didn't really think about seriously adopting until now. They were in talks about adopting a child from Haiti, but then the huge earthquake hit, unfortunately, and their adoption fell through, and they kind of lost hope at that moment. One day, Eric gets a call from an adoption agency in Florida, which should have been the first red flag. But he didn't really think too much of it because they run an in-home daycare, so they thought maybe, okay, they just did some Googling around and they found us, saying that they have a child, she's 6 years old, she's from the Ukraine, and kind of giving them an ultimatum actually, because they said, well, she's gonna be adopted. And if she is not adopted by you guys specifically, she's just gonna be put through the foster care system and she's not gonna have a great life. The company didn't really tell them that much. All they said was, here's 2 pictures of her, you can come down and meet her, but there was no real records other than her birth certificate that she had with her, which was all in Ukrainian, by the way. Even though they thought it was kind of weird, they said, you know what? Let's just fly down to Florida, meet her, see if we vibe. If we vibe, okay, we'll make it happen. So they flew to Florida with their 3 sons, 6, 9, and 11 years old, and they don't really know the area very well, so they type it in their GPS, beep, 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 you know what I mean, put it on the thing, they go, they arrive, they look around and they're like, I think this is the wrong place, honey, I think this is the wrong place. So they call the adoption agency and they're like, hi, we're here. Are we in the right space? It's like, we're just weird. They're like, oh yes, you're in the right place. Just go this way and this way through this door and you'll be there. Because at first they're thinking like, okay, maybe Google messed up. You know what I mean? Maybe the GPS messed up. Because sometimes Google Maps can be like, all right, turn left into that ditch. And you're like, ugh, absolutely not, sister. But the adoption people do say that they're in the right place, which happens to be a strip mall. A strip mall. An adoption agency in a strip mall. What is even that? Okay, a one-stop shop where pick up a new dress at Forever 21, get you a Wetzel pretzel and a new daughter. all in the same day, all in the same 15 minutes if you want. So they get there, they sit down, they talk to the people for a little bit. They're like, oh, we'll go get her. Still haven't really, they haven't even given them a FaceTime or anything, just 2 pictures. So they're waiting for a few minutes. All of a sudden the door rips open and this little girl, oh my God, mommy, daddy. Girl, already like so excited, which I totally understand, especially if you've been bouncing around the system or if you're new to the country from Ukraine, you're just really excited, but you don't know these people. No, I'd be hugging her like, sweetie, what is going on? But her name is Sasha. She's really sweet. She has a huge smile on her face. She's really excited. And you just feel really good about this. So, you sign all the paperwork, you make it all happen, and you're out of there. So the family decided to stay in Florida for a little bit, and so they showered her with love and gifts and all these things for the next few days because they wanted to make her feel welcome. They wanted to make her feel comfortable and make her feel loved because they clearly weren't sure where she had come from and what her situation was like before this. Also, the people at the adoption agency tell them that she does have a severe case of dwarfism. So she's gonna have to go to regular doctor's appointments and there's gonna be a certain amount of care that's gonna have to be taken with her. So they go shopping, they get her new clothes, they do all these things, and they go to Disney World, which is, hi, I just been adopted and you're taking me to Disney World. I love you. You bet I'd be calling you mommy and daddy. Mommy, daddy, buy me presents. You know what I mean? So they go to the beach. Remember that they have their 3 other boys with them as well. And one of the symptoms or one of the things that's involved with severe dwarfism is having scoliosis. So she has a bit of a hard time walking. She has a bit of a limp. And so they're just making sure that she's okay. They're keeping an eye on her. They just lugged everything from the car. They're getting all set up. And the boys run off into the ocean. Now, Sasha looks at Eric and Lily and she's like, I want to go too. Like, can you take me out there? Because she can't walk out there. She can't run out there. I don't know if something happens and she's in the water, whatever. She needs to be supervised. But also she's 6, so she's still young. And this is a new environment and the whole situation. So Eric says, yes, I'll take you out there in just a few minutes. They're exhausted. They just lugged everything from the car. They're still setting up. But he's like, don't worry, I'll take you in a few minutes. This little girl gets up and runs straight out into the ocean. Just like as if she has no problems whatsoever. The scoliosis cured. The limp gone. Okay. All right, girl. So Eric and Lily are looking at each other like, who is this girl? Seriously. So whatever. That's the first thing. So they go home, back to Ohio, and they get settled. Everything is fine. Yes, there's a couple of weird things, but it's not really a big deal. She hasn't really done anything wild yet. Lily goes in and she's like, hey, do you want me to give you a bath? Let's go, girl, because we got to get you all situated here. So she's giving Sasha a bath. Scrub-a-dub-dubbing along, right? And she looks down and she's like, honey, come here. It wasn't that pleasant. It was more of a yell, but I'm not going to give you all of that tonight. So Eric comes in the room. He's like, what's going on? Are you okay? He's concerned. I would be concerned too if my girl was like yelling at for me, especially with a new child in the house. So she's rub-a-dub-dubbing and she's like, and he's like, this little girl has a full bush. In the private zone. Again, remember, she is 6 years old, allegedly, and she has a full bush. So it seems as if she's already gone through puberty. Okay. So now we have the second red flag. We got her running into the ocean and now we got a full bush. Okay. Later that night, the boys are playing with toys. She has no interest. She doesn't want to play with the toys, which I think is a little strange at 6 years old. You don't want to throw around a little Peppa Pig or put on a JoJo Siwa boat, none of the above. Eric and Lily are thinking of ways to make her more comfortable, and they actually have a Ukrainian friend that lives down the road. So, they call her up, hey, can you come over here and try to make her just a little bit more comfortable, give her something that she's familiar with. So the Ukrainian friend comes over. Hi, how are you? She starts speaking in Ukrainian to Sasha, and Sasha has no clue what she's saying. She said, bitch, what? She has not one single clue what this woman from her home country is saying to her. But also, she doesn't know where she's from in the Ukraine at all. And this friend is like trying to talk to them. She has no clue what the city is, what the country is, any. Now, I don't remember a lot of things from when I was that age, like 4 to 6, but I remember enough. I remember where I was living. I remember what country I was living in. I remember the people that I was living with. I don't know. Okay, whatever. So at this point, Lily's like, this kid is sus. I'm just gonna keep an eye on her. And so remember again, Lily is running the in-home daycare, and one day all the kids are running around having a good time. Sasha, just sprinkles right up to her, and she's like, ugh, these kids are so loud and rowdy. How do you deal with these kids? This little girl just came up to me and asked me, how do I deal with these children when you're a child yourself? Okay, that's just another example that Lily was like, yeah. Again, Lily is like, this girl is sus. And she really starts to think about it. They don't have any of her medical records from before she came here, which is strange considering the medical condition that she's in. We should have some kind of record so we can know how to treat this girl. The birth certificate is fine, whatever. It's a little shady. It's all in Ukrainian. You see her birth date, but you can't see anything else on there. And also, we don't truly know how a Ukrainian birth certificate, if it's real or what, or what does it look like? You know what I mean? So this could have been manufactured the minute before they stepped into the office in the strip mall. Who knows? Click on print and it comes out Photoshop what? So her suspicion's growing a little bit. She's thinking about all the factors, but she is not ready for what she's about to discover next. When moms peruse around your room, snoop, when they peruse, but they're looking around, picking up clothes, and one day Lily's picking up clothes in every kid's room to do the laundry. I don't know where this little girl was at the time, probably looking at her from a corner, but she looks in her closet and the clothes have blood on them. And she's like, why do these clothes have blood on them? Okay, thinking, no answers are coming to her other than this little girl has a period. Possibly, we don't know for sure, but possibly. So now she's thinking this girl has passed full-blown puberty and this girl is having a period and now she's hiding it. She's 6, allegedly. So after all of these factors, we got the beach, we got the bush, we got I don't know how you deal with all these kids. We got the other thing that I mentioned, about the Ukrainian with no accent, can't understand the language, any of that. And she thinks it's time to confront her. Lily confronts Sasha. She goes up to her and she's like, I really don't think you're as old as you're claiming. And Sasha's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm 6 years old. That's what my birth certificate says. That's what I've been told. But this is important. This is an important key point because something switches in Sasha that never turns off. After she's confronted about her age, everything is different. Everything changes from here. So Eric's walking around the house one day, as a dad does, thumping around, and he proceeds to go up the stairs and there's thumbtacks on the stairs. He's like, ow, for real? And they're turned up, of course, this way, so you can step on them. whatever, hee hee ha ha, what a funny prank. But at the time, kids are just hilarious in their own minds. He asks all the boys, it's not them. Of course, it's Sasha. Not a big deal, whatever, we're just having fun. But then she starts to take it up a notch. Every level. Well, you'll see the escalation. So she starts to get to know the other boys, her brothers, pseudo brothers, step brothers, semi brothers, whatever kind of brothers. Remember, they're 6, 9, and 11, and each of them loves something intensely, and she starts to find that out. Because now she's been confronted and she feels threatened. So the 6-year-old boy, he likes cows. So he has this cute little cow, stuffed animal. The 9-year-old boy loves cars, so he's got a little Hot Wheel moment. And the 11-year-old boy, one of his favorite things is his homework. Now, if you ask me at 11 what my favorite thing is, my top 3 choices, homework would not be in there at all. But you'll get a little glimpse into why that's his favorite later. So she steals all of their favorite things, you know, and the family's going for a walk, you know, they're getting some fresh air, cute in, and they start crossing the street. All the cars are stopped here, but there's other cars around driving and, you know, doing their thing. Sasha decides to throw all the toys up into the air, into the street, and the parents are just at a loss. They're like, what the hell? And Sasha's just standing there like... When Sasha was asked why she threw everything up in the air when they were crossing the sidewalk, she just simply said, I'm trying to kill the boys. I'm trying to kill the boys. And so the story continues. They're moving along, doing their thing. And one day Lily is in the kitchen, you know, chopping her onions away. She's making some steak. And she's looking for her good steak knife. You know, everybody's got that one knife that really just does the job for the meat, you know? So she's looking around, looking through all the crevices, doing all the things. And she's like, where's my good steak knife? So she's already searched the whole kitchen, basically every drawer, every cupboard is open. And she starts to go through the rooms. And she's already freaked out by this little girl. So she decides, let's go to Sasha's room real quick. She's, you know, looking around, pillaging, and she looks under the bed. And she sees a collection of knives. Lily didn't even realize that all these knives were missing in her kitchen, but here they are under Sasha's bed, like, what do you need all these for? And guess what? She couldn't find her good steak knife. Lily finds these knives under Sasha's bed and she's like, everything's fine, everything's fine. So one night, Eric was sleeping in his bed. And he abruptly opened his eyes, like, boop, you know what I mean? Because he felt a presence standing over him. And he looks over, and of course, it's Sasha, holding the good steak knife that Lily's been tearing up this whole house for in her hand. And he's just like, oh my God. So now, not only was she hiding knives under her bed, but now she's here brandishing one. Like, what's good? At 3 o'clock in the morning. Later, they find drawings that she did of the whole family dead, slaughtered, blood everywhere. And she said that she was going to use the knives to stab everybody in their sleep. After all of that, one day, Lily's in the kitchen, you know, just cleaning up, tidying up, cleaning all her knives and showing Sasha that she has them all. Now, all of them, finally. And Sasha's like, skipping in, you know, can I help you with cleaning the kitchen? And Lily's like, okay, maybe this girl has issues. I'm just gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. And, you know, she's being nice now. Nothing too crazy has happened in a second. Okay, you can help clean the kitchen. And so Lily gives her a bottle of Pine Sol and a little rag, you know, a good cleaning rag. And Sasha's just cleaning the table. Well, it probably wouldn't be like that. It would be something a little more spooky, you know what I mean? She decides to pour some Pine Sol in Lily's coffee, in the mother's coffee that's just sitting right there. Lily looks over and she sees her doing this quite plainly, just out in the open. And Lily's like, oh, she's getting brave. So she goes right up to her. Sasha, what are you doing? And she said, I'm trying to kill you. No. Goodbye, little girl. You go on back to Florida. You're not welcome here. She also has by now smeared blood all over the mirrors at one point, okay, and other bodily fluids that we cannot discuss. She drew those crazy pictures of the whole family dead. And she also allegedly tried to push Lily into an electric fence. This is just adding, it's just too much, okay? And Eric and Lily are both fed up at this point and they don't know what to do. They enroll her in therapy, in different kind of therapies. They try everything, basically everything that there is to get her some kind of help. And eventually they just admit her to a psychiatric hospital. While she's at the hospital, she admits that she thinks that she's older than people have told her she is, or older than she thinks that she is. She's admitted to threatening the family, wanting to kill them, wanting them dead, the whole nine. So anyways, she does her moment in the hospital and then finally she's released. When she comes home, the couple at this point are completely convinced that this is a full-grown woman and not a child. And they really do care. They want her to get the help that she needs. So they decide the best option would be to have her birth certificate reflect the age that they think that she is. So they go to the court and they somehow provide this evidence, whatever they have, and they want to change her current age from 8. So now 2 years has elapsed from the time that they got her to now. They want her age to change from 8 to 22. 14-year difference. Which is a little crazy because she was just 6 yesterday and now she's gonna be 22. But basically, they're asking the court to confirm that she's an adult, have it on her birth certificate so she can get the proper amount of help that she needs and deserves in their minds. Because when you're 8, you can only get so much. Apparently there's a lot more resources when you're an adult. And since she's proven / the couple believes that she's an adult, then it needs to be on the paper. The judge decides with all the evidence given that yes, I agree with you guys. We're gonna change her birth date to 1989. So now she's 22 years old. She's a complete full adult. She is responsible for herself. They go on home and the couple is like, okay, she just got out of a psychiatric hospital and now she's 22, on paper. We don't really know how old she truly is, but we think that she's an adult. And she threatened our boys last time, so it was just an unsafe situation. So they rent her an apartment 5 minutes away from their house so she can start living on her own, okay? Lily goes over there, she helps her get the groceries, she buys her furniture, she helps her get a social security number, she helps her get benefits and disability, food stamps, the whole situation, so that way she's fully squared away. And they also hired an in-home nurse that will come and check on her, make sure that she's okay, that she's adjusted to her surroundings. And the whole thing, because just a normal apartment is gonna be hard to navigate with somebody who is 3 feet tall. And she has dwarfism, so she's really short. She can't be reaching all the way up there into the cupboards and all the things. And even the stove might be too high for her. So she does need assistance, so they provide her with a nurse. And they visit twice a week. So they really have just transitioned from, all right, sweetie, do you want some more, oatmeal? To, hey, we'll see you next Sunday. It's just a whole change. Like I was talking about how she had a switch turned on in her when she was confronted by her age. And now it's as if as soon as she was released from the psychiatric hospital, there was a switch that turned on in Eric and Lily as well. They were like, well, we gotta do what we gotta do. Now, you're not even ready for the sub-story that I'm about to serve you about one of the other kids in the family. Remember the boy whose favorite thing was homework and I told you I'd come back to him later? Well, here we are now, and it's time to tell his story. Now, his name is Max, and at the time he was 11, so at this point he's about 13. And he's a boy genius, okay? He is not only the smartest person in his class, but he taught himself all of high school math in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. He said, instead of going on a vacation to Cabo, I'm gonna teach myself pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, maybe even pre-calc. He definitely taught himself geometry, the whole situation. And I barely could get through high school taking things 1 year at a time, barely passing. So he truly is a boy genius, I'll tell you that. I'll also get this, at age 14, he started developing an original theory in astrophysics. This is wild because while Sasha over here, his sister, was acting like a child, Max was sitting in a room acting like an adult with people 3 or 4 times his age, schooling them right and left. Just weird. Max gets accepted to a university in Canada for his PhD. Yes, and I presume that's where he starts his original theory in astrophysics. But he gets accepted to a university in Canada. So Eric and Lily are like, well, he's 14 years old, we're not gonna let him go move out there by himself, even though they have a alleged woman down the street who is their child living by herself. But, I digress. Big words over here. Now, Eric and Lily are completely convinced that Sasha can take care of herself. By the way, a full year has elapsed of her living in the apartment, so she's proven herself, they feel good about it, and they decide, we're gonna move the whole family to Canada to support Max and leave Sasha here. But in their heads, they're thinking, this is gonna be a fresh start, a new chapter. She's not gonna be anywhere near us or the children, and we can just help Max focus on his PhD. So they pack up all their belongings into a sweet little U-Haul and they head north. Yes, they do, straight to Canada, and they leave Sasha behind. All right, y'all, it's time for the reveal. This story sounds too crazy to be true and too many twists to be anything but fiction. Did a grown woman pretend to be a child? Place your bets. Do you think that the story I told was fact or fiction? You have 10 seconds. And yes, I'm giving you a Dora situation. You just yell it out. Yell it out. I'll tell you if you're wrong or right in just a second. Go ahead. If you guessed fiction, you are wrong. This story is fact. Allegedly. While this literally sounds like the plot out of the Orphan movie, yes, remember the Orphan movie now? She tried to seduce the stepdad and killed the bird and all this other stuff. It is a real story. This is the story of the Barnett family. Michael and Christine Barnett, who in our story was Eric and Lily, and the main character, Sasha. Her real name is Natalia. Now, Natalia was placed with a few different families before she ended up with the Barnetts. Now, one of the families had a young son. She would play with him. She got really close with him. One day they were playing around. They were wrestling, apparently, and she landed on his arm wrong. And the mother came in and she was convinced that Natalia was trying to break his arm. So she said, no demon children in my house, and she returned her to the adoption agency, which is, I didn't even know that you could do that. So at one point, Michael and Christine apparently took Natalia to their primary doctor, I guess to get examined or evaluated or some kind of situation, but the doctor ended up writing a letter which presumably was presented to the court as evidence to get her age changed. Let's read an excerpt from that letter, shall we? The birth certificate that was given to the Barnetts showed a date of birth of 9/4/3. This date is clearly inaccurate. Over time, it has become increasingly apparent that this patient is substantially older than she claimed to be. She was seen by a dentist in 2011 who described her dentition as adult. A neuropsychology evaluation in 2011 described her as fully grown and with secondary sex characteristics. During an inpatient psychiatric hospitalization in 2012, it was stated that she was at least 14 years of age. A normal menstrual cycle was documented during that hospitalization. She was also diagnosed at the time with sociopathic personality disorder, which usually does not appear until at least 16 years of age. Moving on. Let's go over some questionable things. First, the birth certificate. So, allegedly, besides the fact that the birth certificate was all in Ukraine, it apparently was missing some key pieces of information. And the weirdest thing about it is that Ukraine is known for falsifying birth certificates. They apparently say, just base yourself on the height of the rest of the kids, and that'll be your age. We'll just jot it down. Since she has severe dwarfism, she was probably standing in the group home with kids who were taller than her because she was so short. So they said, okay, 2003, and we're done. You gotta get adopted. We're getting you out of here. You're going to the United States. So they said, we're gonna do whatever we gotta do. So that's probably how they arrived at the 2003 birth date. Obviously, none of this is confirmed, but I'm giving you what I know from the research. It gets even weirder. Years later, a woman came out claiming to be her biological mother, saying, I had a baby in 2003 who had severe dwarfism and I gave her up for adoption. So you're thinking, okay, she probably saw Natalia on the news since, her name was on billboards and stuff, coming back up on the Dr. Phil and the Dateline. And she said, hold on, I think that's my daughter. The court later on did a DNA test and it came back that there was a match. Do with that as you like. Now, the next thing we need to go over is puberty. The puberty situation, could there be an explanation for that? Well, I've got the papers. So it's possible that Natalia was experiencing something called precocious puberty. Now, according to the Mayo Clinic, precocious puberty is when a child's body begins changing into that of an adult, puberty, too soon. Puberty begins before age 8 in girls and before age 9 in boys. It occurs often in children in stress environments, so it's possible that whatever she went through before she came here could have matured her. It's possible that sped up her puberty. But this is all strange, considering that it goes against what Dr. Phil says. Yes, she did an interview with the Philip C. McGraw, but you don't really need to go and watch it. It doesn't really answer many questions. At least you'd be able to see her side of the story. But Dr. Phil says that kids who grow up in these kind of environments in a group home, it actually stops their growth. Someone who went through a group home or some kind of environment like this actually wouldn't grow as fast as an average child. The growth would have been halted because of all the stress that they're experiencing in this environment. Why was she displaying secondary sex characteristics at such a young age? Where are they now? After leaving Natalia in the house, yes, the family did indeed move to Canada, and Natalia ended up ghosting them for a few years. She didn't say anything to them, and she met, you're not ready for this, she met another couple willing to take her in and take care of her. Oh yes, a good old Christian couple that already had 5 kids, but they said, come on in. And I really do think that they meant it out of love and they did want to take care of this girl. They just didn't know the full situation. And so Michael and Christine hadn't seen her in years, and apparently she was pursuing her GED, trying to get her, high school education finished. And the first time that Michael saw her again was in court because the couple that wanted to adopt her also was fighting to get her age changed back to 12. Now, I'm kind of with the couple on this point because I think aging her 14 years from 18 to 22 was a little extreme. But now you want to age her back down to 12, so now they're saying only 3 years have passed. I guess in this timeline, yes, it would have been only 3 years. But Michael basically presented the evidence that he presented before and said, here you go. And the judge agreed. The judge said, yes, your birth date has to stay 1989. It cannot be changed. Years later, even after the court ruled that she was 22 at the time, the 1989, they charged Michael and Christine with felony neglect. Felony neglect. It just gets more and more confusing because right as you think that it's resolved, it just keeps on going. So eventually the charges were dropped, but it really makes you think, why? Why did the police bring these charges after several years? This story was hitting the headlines at the end of 2019 because of these charges, when this is a story that originated in 2010. And what's even crazier, that's hidden in all the drama of this whole I want to kill you situation, putting pints on your coffee, Michael admitted, allegedly, that before they left, he believed that she was a minor. So even if you don't think that she's 8, you still thought she was a minor, which means she is not just fully capable of being left alone and taking care of herself, in my opinion. So what do I think? If I was an adult and I could pretend to be a child, you bet I'd be scamming every one of these rich folks out here. Free food, free place to live, no responsibilities, no bills, no life pressures, just happy little me. I'd be clicking on some Doc McStuffins when the parents are there, but when they're gone, I'm watching RuPaul's Drag Race, I'm watching Wendy Williams. And they might come back to a strange scene, but you just gotta have that speed dial on point so that way they don't think of anything. But for real, I think that whatever she went through in the Ukraine permanently scarred her, and she truly can't remember. She doesn't know her age. The people around her don't know her age. And I believe that she definitely is older than she says she is, than she thinks she is. But I don't think she's 14 years older. Clearly, she has mental issues. She's been treated before. I don't know what her life is like now as for the treatment part of things. But I mean, we really do feel bad for her because at the end of the day, the parents abandoned her. It's definitely a gray area, salty situation with the leaving her in, Indiana, for real. And they just went off to Canada and left her here. But you adopted a child. She was your responsibility. Even if you believed that she was an adult, if it doesn't make sense to you, I don't know. I don't think that they should have been charged with felony neglect after legally in the courts multiple times they ruled that 2003 is not her birth date. So you cannot base that. I don't even know how charges were brought in the first place, especially being that the time that had passed was so long. And ultimately, that's why they dropped the charges, because the statute of limitations had expired. Sorry, you had your chance. As for Michael and Christine, they got a divorce in 2014. And I think after they started noticing these weird things that just weren't adding up, they started to write a narrative in their minds, allegedly. If these events were real, that's a different situation. We obviously don't know, but this is just what I'm gonna say. After all, the movie Orphan was released in 2009, and they adopted Natalia in November of 2010. So I think after they saw all of these weird things going down, it's possible that they projected their fears of the fictional character in Orphan on their actual child, Natalia. Their actions could have been influenced by it, and after they saw the movie, they just couldn't unsee it. There's just too many things that are not making sense, that are aligning more with the movie than they are with real life. I think they were also distracted with the success of their son, Jacob. He was getting all this media attention, all these accolades. He was being praised. They were being pulled in so many different directions. And Christine actually ended up writing a book about her son. She was busy over here, jotting away. And while she was, her daughter was pouring pine salt in her coffee. Woo! One day, 60 Minutes is over to come interview the family, and the next day, this bitch is standing over me with a knife in the middle of the night. This is just too much stress for one person, even for two people. I think at one time, there was a lot of love in this family, and then everything just fell apart for everyone. Natalia went and found new parents, and Christine and Michael, Eric and Lily in our story, got a divorce and they started their new lives. So I still think that it's wild that the police came and tried to get them charged for child neglect so many years after everybody had moved on. It's just bringing old stuff back up. Jacob, I'm sure, is doing great things. He's 22 now and he's probably a professor at Harvard or something, who knows. As for Natalia, she claims that she's 17, but her birth certificate says 31, and she's not able to change that. And we have to grapple with the fact that no one truly knows how old she is, and I don't think we'll ever know. So that's it. Let me know what you think of this story in the comments below. Do you think Natalia was a child or an adult? And if you have any stories that you'd like me to tell, please shoot me a DM on Instagram and we'll get it going. If you'd like more videos like this, please make sure you hit the like button so I know that you like it and so that we can start raising up in the YouTube ranks. Come on, we're really trying to do this. And hit that subscribe button and that bell while you're at it. Again, my name is Jake. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I'll see you next time on Fact or Fiction. Bye.